Well, hello there. It's been a hot minute since we did a long form video, but you know what? It's kind of glorious on the farm in August. Let's do a garden tour. First up is the perennial garden. We've been working on this space for about 4 years, so the first round of plants that I initially planted are actually looking really good. Like this beautiful grapevine. The lilies were so stunning this year, but their time is already past. And you know, I couldn't afford to put this giant space full of perennials the very first year I started. So, you know, it'll just only get better with time because really I just kept adding a few more perennials every year. I would say the garden is pretty much full. There's sort of just one corner around a tree that we had to cut that'll come and fill in a little bit more, but hopefully in another 3 to 5 years, it'll be beautiful and lush and cottagey. And hopefully I'll also have enough plants in the main flower farm that I no longer have to steal from this space. The first area of raised beds definitely looked nicer initially in the year, but the pumpkin arch has finally worked after 3 years of failure. I've also been doing sweet peas amongst the pumpkins, and I'm just letting all of these go to seed. These are April and Paris. Over here, I experimented with a very late succession of zinnias, and I'm really hoping that these will bloom late into September or even mid-September and just sort of take over when the zinnias are tired. We have some lovely carrots, lots of weeds, few larkspur that decided they wanted to hang around, a late succession of sunflowers to fill in, and of course some nasturtiums. Now these nasturtiums, I use them kind of as just like a trap crop for bugs, so I'm okay if they end up looking like this. We're in these two beds. I'm experimenting with how late I can get dahlias to bloom. These are kind of looking better than I thought they would, but we'll see. We have a ridiculous amount of lettuce seed. I probably could pull some of this, like I really don't need it all. More dahlias on this side. I don't know, this snap crop is just terrible. The bugs were awful. Someone really needs to weed on their garden tour, but alas, such is life. Apparently we're starting with the most chaotic part of the tour because this particular bed is kind of chaotic. I have a few sunflowers in here, some weeds. I started a bunch of hollyhocks, and eventually I want like this whole bed to be hollyhocks. And then there was just sort of one last succession of sunflowers we needed. We had no other space, and this is where they are. So even though this part of the tour was maybe a little bit underwhelming and not as beautiful as one would hope, the nice thing is when it was in its prime, it actually was very beautiful. And we got enough moisture this year that things actually worked out pretty well. The high tunnel is currently blocked off from the chickens because they're total brats. They love dahlias and they love tomatoes. So what I've done in here is the center row is tomato land, and then the two side rows are mostly dahlias. And like I really struggle with growing dahlias here, but I think this is the most successful I've ever been. So I'm going to continue to like keep amending the soil and doing dahlias in the high tunnel. We also have a lovely round of pumpkins that have finally started to take off, and we'll go to the back and I'll show you my favorite dahlia this year. Seeing these dahlias be so tall and so happy like actually just makes me kind of want to cry. I don't think you understand, especially if you don't live in this climate, like how hard it has been for me to grow decent dahlias. Due to being a mom of littles and like not necessarily keeping the greatest track of everything, I actually have no clue what dahlias are what. So if you know what these varieties are, I would love for you to tell me in the comments, but if not, they're just gonna get a tag that says like orange, peach with some yellow in it, and we'll start from there. So I'm wondering if this one is maybe like a cafe au lait rose or something, although I feel she looks like a little more yellowy in real life than I would expect, but that's what it kind of reminds me of. And like I don't know if I've ever had a dahlia that was quite this prolific. And then like, also this is from a cutting. This isn't even from a tuber. Like, so this A+, keeping forever, growing out lots. Over here, we have this lovely orange one. Also quite prolific and from a cutting, because everything I think over in this section was from cuttings. I also like to let volunteers live, and this auroch is living its absolute best life. But even though things are looking pretty good, you know, there's still some bare spots, still some stuff that didn't work out. Slocia still eludes me and like just does not want to live. Like, I started 100 plants and this is what I'm left with. I think I'm going to keep this one out for seed, but it's such a failure. So now let's go to the main garden. This is what you've been waiting for. I'm going to start with the stuff that's struggling the most, and then I will work my way up to the front where things are looking pretty good. So this sad area is what will eventually be a full perennial garden, and it's probably about halfway full. I'm just finding that when I order wholesale, the stuff just doesn't work out. So now I'm prioritizing just buying from other growers in the area slowly but surely. These were supposed to be 45 peonies, and a lot of them, more than I would like, did not want to come up. I'm hoping that maybe some of these, like, I've dug in and some of them still have roots and buds, so maybe they'll come up next year. They're just slow. I don't know. Basically, in any bare spot in the garden, I'm just planting pumpkins. I really need lots of pumpkins for my pumpkin sales, so here they are. Over here we have some pearl yarrow, a tiny bit of perennial scabiosa. I think these are chives. I do not remember what this one is called, but I'm so glad I have it. I think it's so beautiful, and I want this one in as many other colors as possible. Over here are a few more perennials. This is sedum. It really likes my soil and can handle a lot of neglect. I also took some cuttings. So these cuttings, I literally just like chopped off a piece from these slightly more established ones and threw it in the ground, and it's here. There's also some random lilies. Maybe I'll dig them out someday. Maybe I won't. This is a different type of salvia that I got from Mother Earth Greenhouse. Seems to be doing well. And then here's more of that perennial flower that I liked. I guess I have it in white. I actually didn't even know what this was. Again, my poor marking. And then over here we have our struggle dahlias interspersed with some random ornamental grasses. I think this is a Joe Pye weed of sorts. This will probably bloom pretty soon. Some licorice mint, failure perennials. Like, I literally don't know why this lemon verbena is happy and this lemon verbena died. I don't get it. It is what it is. We have lambs here. I started these from seed. Now I'm told these will get really huge, so I will probably have to disperse this eventually, but again, is what it is. I feel like that's the motto of this garden. This will be a globe thistle, and then I literally forgot what I planted there. It's fine. It's all fine. Those of you who are more orderly in the garden, you're probably like just wringing your hands right now, being like, why don't you know what anything is? Just life with little kids. I don't know. And I mean, I used to be such a perfectionist, but I feel like I really am a type B at heart. And I don't know. I guess I've learned to let these things go. And you know what? I'll figure out what they are someday and it will be fine. This is my row of snapdragons, and like, they are not doing hot this year. It is really not the year of the snapdragon. However, it is 100% the year of the straw flower. Look at those gorgeous babies. I harvest my straw flowers for drying and like my pumpkins and my wreaths in the winter. So I really need to cut all these, but I wanted to share them with you. Zinnia Row is definitely not quite as glorious as it was in 2023, but you know, it's actually kind of getting there. I did a couple different successions. I did a few at 8 weeks, some at 6 weeks, some at 4, some at 0, and then some, I think at like 4 weeks out or 2 weeks out, maybe all of them. And they're finally starting to come, and like, zinnias are my favorite. So I always feel like these are my friends that I look forward to. This was a patch of emergency zinnias, so I think these are just like some sort of mix, maybe a cactus mix. Oh, that looks like a cactus. We have some ornamental grasses. These ones, you can see them kind of start to come over here. These guys get pretty big seeds, although I kind of wonder if my chickens are eating them. They should look a little better than that. Ooh, look at this one. Gotta love that plum pro cut. Like, look how glorious she is. Love. And we have a few over here. Shows us such a different range of tones. Ooh, so much to show you. This is such a good view. We'll get there. We'll get there. Onward to the marigolds. So these are those cocoa gold marigolds. And I gotta confess, I feel like on camera does not accurately depict how good these marigolds are. Like, in real life, these are the best marigolds. They're not that like aggressive orange. They're like more of a peach. They're kind of toned down. They're so big and fluffy. Like, I always worry when I put marigolds in a bouquet that people around here, because a lot of people are gardeners around here, will be like, oh, I can grow that. That's kind of boring. Why would you put marigolds in? But like, everybody loves them. They think they're the best thing ever. So cocoa gold marigolds. We messed up a little bit when we were seeding things. I think we thought these were all sunflowers. And so we have like zinnias, sunflowers, zinnias. It's a little strange, but stuff like that happens here. I'm going to try some ornamental corn. Some of it is gem glass and some of it is blue. I have no idea how good it'll do, but already I feel this is looking a lot better than corn usually looks here. So we're winning, at least at something. I guess this baby's breath is done. Let's move on to something else. Sweet Annie coming up. I consider corn cockle an emergency flower because like, I feel it just goes like this so fast, but it's so lyrical and so pretty. So like, I always have to have a little bit of it in my garden. Of course, we have some Dusty Miller and then the Blush Lavaterra. Right now, I'm not really using it unless I absolutely need to. Mostly I'm just saving it for the seed. Some of this, like this is from seed from last year. So some of it reverted to white, which I don't mind. And actually this pink is quite beautiful too. So maybe I'll have to like separate out all 3 colors. Yeah, somebody cut this frosted explosion grass. It's getting a little crazy. I really got a harvest in here. This is my Cosmo Rose. And I don't know about you, but like I was kind of a Cosmo hater. And to me, I always felt like, ugh, 12 to 18 plants is enough. But I don't know. I just feel like they're so pretty and so lyrical. At our last photo shoot, Julie got such a good picture of these. It's probably going to be in the calendar. and I think I actually need a full row. The status that survived is doing pretty well, but there's a lot of purple, unfortunately. The chickens, of course, ate the most useful colors to me, you know, which would be this. I have all of 2 plants. Oh, I didn't even notice this was here. You guys have to see this. So this is a row of sunflowers, right? But lurking beneath, look at that pumpkin. I tried to make a pumpkin tunnel here, and I swear every single pumpkin that's like in the tunnel proper, horrible. Every single pumpkin that I just like threw in a perennial row where there was a blank space, amazing. Flying through the garden, but actual tunnel, Okay, over here, these guys are tangerine gem marigolds, and you have to start them a bit early because they take a while to get their stem length, but you rub your hands on them and they smell like tangerines. They're amazing. I wish you had smell-o-vision. It's so good. Then over in this spot are some of the sunflower steves. So I'm just keeping, oh dear. Oh no, we're okay. I'm just worried the birds have maybe got to them. I should probably put this one in the greenhouse. Anyway, so all of the ones that I like, I'm saving. And then anything that I feel maybe isn't like as good of a form, or, you know, I just, oh yeah, I don't know. I might have to cut this one. Like, I don't know. What do you think? Should I cut this one or not? Sort of cute, but like maybe not perfect. Anyway, just trying to save my own sunflower steve for my own purposes, just because in Canada it's so expensive to get this seed. Like the shipping is rough, and I mean Steve totally recognizes that, and he was very kind to all of us Canadians. But yeah, just growing out my sunflower steve. This echinacea I feel was so worth the wait. You know, as a cut flower, I feel like it's a bit of an emergency flower. Like it holds up okay. Sometimes these petals can be problematic, but it's so beautiful in the garden. And then if you're like into herbs and tinctures and stuff, apparently it's very useful. A little in the distance, we have my first ever globe thistle. I love this stuff. It's so cool. I cut most of it for drying, but now I'm just growing this one out to hopefully be some more seed. So you see back there, that's supposed to be the pumpkin tunnel. It kind of feels like the pumpkin tunnel of failure. We'll just see that for a moment. It's so beautiful. And then, so you have to like go through this path. Here's the patch where I thought these were plants and I transplanted mostly weeds, which is very embarrassing. Ooh, more frosted explosion grass. And this is like a jungle. I actually need to go through here and lift up some of these vines and get them on this part of the trellis so that this will all work out. And then you can see there's kind of like this clear path and nothing growing over it where there's supposed to be a pumpkin tunnel. I feel like this is also the year of amaranth. I know amaranth is supposed to grow like a weed for most people, but I really struggle with it. I feel like I struggle with practically everything in this garden, but this year it is doing so good. Now this is a bit of a later succession of snapdragons, and I feel like this one is looking a lot more promising. And then over here we have those peach pro cut sunflowers. I really, really love the peach. I think I'm going to prioritize that as sort of like my main sunflower colored sunflower, just considering the kind of work I do and the kind of customers I have. Most of these rows are kind of tired. Like there's some stock, a second succession coming up, but I cut the good stuff, so that's gone. Back there's some saponaria, rudbeckia, that's actually perennial. The feverfew is kind of on its way out. Same thing with the yarrow, but again, I think I might leave this unless there's an emergency, and I kind of want the seeds. For sunnies, I also love the white knight. I mean, this one has a little bit of bug damage, unfortunately, but this is definitely, this one's a bit damaged too, but it's definitely one of my favorites. Okay, this is a pretty one. There we go. If you're not already, or sorry, white light, not white knight. I actually don't like white knight as much. Oh, here's one nice stalk for you that I didn't cut yet. Oh, here's a nicer spot of baby's breath. So I'm still kind of figuring out what interplantings I like. I'm not sure if this one was a very successful one, but I do love some baby's breath. And no, it is not perennial baby's breath. This is the annual stuff, so this is totally fine. It's not a noxious weed. Okay, I sort of brushed off that Rudbeckia, but you know what? It's so good. I think it deserves a quick show. So this was a Rudbeckia that I planted from Mother Earth Greenhouse, thinking it was an annual, like 4 years ago, maybe even 5 years ago. And these have come back every year. They're getting so big now. So I think next year in these little blank spots around, I will grab some from Patty and fill this out. And then over here we have the Sweet William. At first I thought this was such a failure when I planted it, but it's been slowly, you know, just seeding itself out. So all these seeds here, I'll collect a few and then I'll like dump a few out just to try to extend this patch. So the longer I'm here and the more I learn about like what this garden likes, you know, I'll give plants a chance and stuff, but I just want to plant the things that want to live. You know, if a plant just doesn't want to live, I'm only going to give it so many chances. I'm really tired of struggling so hard, and like, you know, the H-start has helped. Sometimes we have friends that'll let us have some cow manure, and like that has helped. My rainwater thing where I do, like I put the cow manure in and do like a lazy composty, like that all helps. But you know, we just still struggle. And like this year we've gotten the rain, so things are pretty good. But you know, since I've started, we did not get the rain for so many years. So I just don't know if I can count on every year getting decent rain. And then over here is the Orac where I actually planted it. And it's not nearly as tall. This is a nice view of the garden too. And then the borage patch. I just love borage. Such a nice, happy blue. The bees love it. And then this is one of the later successions of sunflowers. Although I feel like, you know, it's not that far away. Okay, so that's the main garden area, but there's one more spot I want you to see. Oh, maybe I'll show you the stand too, because like there's a perennial garden in there. And unless you follow all my short form content, you might not necessarily know about that. But first, I'm going to take you to the raised beds that are closer to the house. Now, initially, these were intended to be like a spot where I could grow more vegetables or like didn't have to worry about it looking pretty for YouTube or whatever. But I don't know, I think it looks pretty. Welcome to Pumpkin Tunnel Heaven. And maybe I should have cleaned that a little. I don't even know what that is, but Michael made these for me. They're 4x8 boxes. And then they have these arches on every side. Now I did 2 pumpkins per arch. That was craziness. I probably could have done 1, but you know, live and learn. This arch has totally gotten away from me. Here, I'll back up more. Like, that's not a pumpkin tunnel. That is a pumpkin enclosure. Like, look at this web. I don't even think there's a point in trying to fix this anymore. We are now in the pumpkin enclosure. Maybe the kids will want to play in here and it'll be like the new beanpole tent thing. So one thing I do regret in this space is I was too cheap this spring when I was doing the final layer of soil. So we do a hugelkultur method in our raised beds. And these raised beds had like 3 different years or 3 different times of being like filled right to the brim, overflowing, and then they kind of like went down. And so I thought, oh, surely it's not going to go down much more. So I just sort of like tucked some straw in the little spots where I felt there were gaps. I put 3 bags of potting soil over some manure and I called it a day, and I'm like, oh, good enough. I just don't want to spend so much money. And now like they're 2 feet down. That was not a good decision. Okay, maybe not 2 feet, maybe like 18 inches, but it's still pretty bad. Live and learn. Okay, so let's head out to the stand and I'll show you the perennial garden there. All right, here is the stand. So we've gotten a lot more signage and like things dialed in this year. I'm sure we'll change stuff as time goes on, like this perennial garden here. So I want more hollyhocks in the back over there. And I think this whole space eventually I would like to just be flowers. We actually have some proper signage, which is always exciting. And then when you come, oh, there's so much background traffic. When you come to the stand, so we have these curtains. And that's just to keep out the dust and stuff. Now, I do need to reset the stand. Some stuff like this is too tired. This has to go. Yeah, some of this stuff we'll do a restock or whatever, but I don't know. I think it's looking kind of cute. We're finding our groove. This sign was definitely helpful. The stand has really been just like one giant learning curve, and it's been really interesting when I've been working in the yard to see people come, see how they interact with it. Sometimes they come and they just like turn around. They think it's something different. Like they'll think maybe that it's a big, like maybe another greenhouse, like Patty up the road, or I think over on the other side of the city, there's some different sort of farm stands that are attached to like big market gardens. So I think they're expecting something like that, but you know, we're figuring it out. I think this perennial garden has really helped the stand feel more like a thing. And, you know, this is its first year. I was sponsored by Dutch growers in the city for this perennial garden. So I made this up and did some content for them. And, you know, it was so nice to just be able to put in everything at once. Some of the spacing might be a little too close, and like, you know, I can adjust as years go on. But I think just because it's, you know, in front of the stand, I would personally rather err on the side of spacing too close than too far. So that is most of the garden tour part. I'm going to talk just a little bit more because I've been gone for so long. So I maybe want to like catch you up on how the year's gone, sort of what I'm thinking about. So, you know, if you're like not a fan of the channel, if you just kind of came here and were interested in what can be done in zone 3 and what things look like, that's awesome. If you want to stay till the end, great. Thanks for coming, and we'll go sit and chat for the diehard fans. So I don't know if I ever made any sort of video or announcement or like literally anything about why I haven't been doing long form video this year. So I thought I would just chat about it a little bit and like talk about the realities of being a business owner and like being in that messy middle where, you know, you're not the new kid anymore. You're established, but like you also haven't scaled up to the crazy heights either. And it's just how that process of scaling up has looked for me. And honestly, it's looked a lot like staying the same because I've had some really hard hits in business, but we can talk about those. So the first and biggest reason why I haven't been on here in long form content is literally just the time. If you're not familiar with me, I have 4 kids, 3 of whom are quite small. And it just seems like every time I open up the laptop, they're there, they want my attention. I do not have daycare. We did have a daycare lady. She unfortunately passed away last July. And I just felt like for the situation with my kids, 3 different schedules, their particular ages, how difficult it would be to find daycare for 3 girls, to have it be any sort of flexibility. And like, I know in Canada, there's $10 a day daycare, but like, it's to the point, you know, those spots just, they're gone like that. And they don't want part-time people, they want full-time people. So I just felt like I would just stay home with everybody and I would just make it work. And long form YouTube was just the thing that had to go. I just, even though I love making long form videos and I'd love to be more creative with them, all that takes time. And like, my channel has not exploded. I don't make crazy money from YouTube AdSense. I make like maybe $200 a month, and that's even with continuing to do short form content. So the numbers just didn't add up. And I don't know, maybe there could be a case made for like, if I got an editor, maybe it would help grow my channel. But like, I don't know if I'm really willing to make that investment. So I don't know, like maybe as my kids grow up, maybe I'll get back to it. I did definitely feel a sense this year of like, oh, I really miss making long form video. Or Chastity and I would get to the end of all the wedding orders and I'm like, oh, that would have made such a good YouTube video. Like, there's just sort of a theme around it, and I felt like we had a really good story arc. But at the same time, like, I'm not faking my channel. I mean, I'm just living my life. Like, for fake stuff on here, I would say probably the fakest it gets is sometimes I'll say something and we're not recording, and then maybe I'll say like, oh, I should just say that again and kind of act that part out. But like, that's kind of as fake as it gets. You know, there's weeds in my garden. I'm not exactly a one-person team, but you know, at least when it comes to video, because it just hasn't taken off, I am largely a one-person team. I don't know if I really talked about it here. Like, I did make sort of a big post on Instagram about my business, but I was sort of feeling the decline. It started, I guess, in the fall of 2022. And then I really felt it and knew it, like it was a thing. This had come to my doorstep and I had to deal with it in the fall of 2024. Yes, because it's 2025. Yeah, so when I looked at my books and my bank account, like for the business back in September of 2024, I realized I couldn't pay myself. And that was because the blog side of my business, which had been kind of the backbone that allowed me to like go try other things, like be the flower farmer and like write the books and all that jazz, that traffic had been decimated. I was at probably about 25% to 30% of what my traffic used to be, and that income also got slashed as well. And so I had to make up the shortfall. The good news was that I had somewhat been preparing for this possibility for quite some time. So, you know, I did have the flower farm, I did have the books, I did have other ways of making money. Like, it was okay, but it wasn't great. It would have honestly been easier if a different arm of the business had failed. Like that one hurt a lot. And I actually didn't know if it was worth it to keep going on. And if we're talking about just the blog itself as a thing, I still don't know if it's actually worth it at this point. It's just sort of a waiting game to see like, what is the impact of AI going to be? Because that Google update that first started the process and like cut me to my knees hurt, but then things sort of rebounded. But then AI had become so prevalent that people just listen to the AI answer when they're asking for a question. They don't want to go to a blog anymore. And like, on one hand, I don't blame them, but on the other hand, like, it just really makes me angry that we want an answer from a machine and not a person. But I guess that is the world we live in. And I mean, in some ways, AI is great and extremely helpful. In other ways, it's really harmful. So I don't know where you fall on that issue, but yeah, all that to say that like when I was trying to figure out what is the way forward, honestly, I still don't entirely know. I have some ideas. I have some things I want to try that you'll see like roll out in the next couple of months, but I don't know. I might not stick to them. But again, like, I feel like this is such a convoluted way of saying like, I just don't get paid enough from YouTube to justify the time, not just to make the videos, because actually the filming of the videos isn't too bad. It's just the editing on the back end. You know, every episode that I would edit kind of the way I want to edit it takes about 3 or 4 hours. It can take up to 6 if I want to do a really good job of it. And like, I know there's other styles of YouTube videos, and so I kind of experimented with trying to make a podcast and do lives, and it just didn't feel right. Just wasn't a good fit. So anyway, that's where I'm at. Not particularly going anywhere. Like, I'm still doing short form. If you haven't checked out my 100 Days, 100 Bouquets series, I do that every day. And yeah, we're just over day 50 now. So very exciting. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this episode. I cannot promise more like this. I mean, if I can manage it, I will occasionally. But yeah, show me some love in the comments. I love hearing from you. And we'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.